Alright guys, hey me RS84, Relax84. Sorry I've been uploading a lot. It's just been really busy. Anyways, we're not playing, we're making a new video. It's a brand new series. It's be called Creepy Stories. I get these off different kind of creepy story websites, kind of like Creepypasta, whatever. Anyways, here's one called the Campfire story. I kind of read it, so I don't know it all, but it's really, really good. So if you get a chance, check it out. I'm on the best creepypasta tumblr.com. Go check these guys out. They seem pretty cool. Alright, anyways, I'm gonna get into it. And actually, I'm gonna end with the story of Professionalized. Alright, guys, thank you. Bye. For a number of years, I was a camp counselor at the overnight camp in Moscacos. I love it more than any job I ever had, despite the non-existent pay. In my campers, long days and short nights, crappy food, etc. For one, I get to tell as many scary stories as I could sputter out. There was nothing better than hanging around a dying campfire with a bunch of junior high kids who were demanding the scariest, most bloody, curdling tales I knew, and I told them all. The babysitter and the eerie clown statue, the driver and the creepypasta gas attendant, the woman and her licking dog. I said my best story. I said my best story for the overnight trips we made in Algorium Park for non-Canadian. It was a massive park. It was a massive park in the middle of Ontario, spanning nearly 8,000 square kilometers. When days would spent canoeing or pristine lakes and nights would be spent around the fire, singing and making s'mores and being as rowdy as the only people within miles could be. Once the kids had quieted down, I told them stories of a stalker in the woods with a face so horrifying it paralyzed all of the victims in fear, or the group of the campers who decided to spend the night across the lake from an abandoned, or was it, insane asylum. On this particular night, I finished up the tales once again, insisting that they were entirely true, and the campers to their tents. It has been an exhausting day, and none of the sick kids were in any mood to stay up later. My fellow counselor had also decided to pack it in, leaving just me on a fallen log next to the dying fire. I took a deep breath of the cool, fresh pine-scented air and looked out the lake. The partial moon reflections off the glassy water on the other side. I could see towering cliffs going up several hundred feet. I considered whether we could canoe over, climb up a few dozen feet, and do some cliff jumping. I grinned. The camp director would have my head if we did that, if he found out. Movements at the very top of the cliff caught my eye. There was a small light bobbing around the peak. At first I thought it was a star, but it was larger and gave off a golden glow. It slowly moved back and forth in a small arc. As I sat up and I watched it, another appeared next to it, bobbing along the top of the cliff, then another and another, and a few more. My stomach dropped into my feet. I grabbed my bag and pulled out my digital camera out, then focused on the little glowing orbs and used the zoom function. I counted them and counted again. Oh crap. In a flash, I was up and running to my tents. Hey guys, wake up. I gotta go. There was a movement in the tents, and I had 7 confused heads looking at me. My co-counselor, Warren, a mixture of concerns appearing here. I hate to do this, I continued, but the clouds are looking really threatening. There's a big rainstorm coming in. If you got caught in it, it was gonna ruin the trip. Seriously? Seriously? Laura, my co-counselor, asked. We're in the middle of the woods. Where would we go? I pulled a map and a flashlight on my bag. There's a ranger station a few kilometers south of us. I traced past with my finger. Thank God we can make it in there a few hours. The campers groaned. Can't we just go in the morning? No, I shouted, my voice echoing across the lake. I lowered it. Come on, let's back up and go. I'll tell a story along the way. I smiled, but I could feel a lip quivering. It's my best one. They seemed to get them going, and within 10 minutes the tents were packed up, and we began our trek into the deep woods. With small flashlights, our only guide, when I was confident we were moving at a steady pace, I allowed myself to relax and began to tell my favorite campfire story. Centuries before the European settlers made their way in the country, it was inhabited by the First Nations people. They have their trips from across western Canada, following migration patterns of large animals such as buffalo, bison. Eventually, they reach Ontario, at which point they split off into smaller groups of travelers, each searching for sections of land called their own. Legend has it, one group consisting of about 20 men, women, and children have ventured through this very area in search of a place to call home. Though it wasn't even the end of October, the weather had made a turn for the worse, and in the group journeyed around the lake, a fierce blizzard hit. Within an hour, the group found themselves in a blinding snow and below zero temperatures. The clothes they had on them were made for the fall and not this sort of weather, and they weren't any Canadian goose jackets around back then, but they pressed on. They didn't have any other choice. Night was falling as they reached a cliff bluff which towered over a cold, choppy lake. There was no stopping from the group. They died if they didn't make it past the cliffs, but with the darkness setting and the snow falling hard, visibility was almost non-existent. So one of the elders had to die, using a little curl since they had left. A little lantern from each of the travelers had carrying in front of them. Not sure where they could see the cliffs, but so they could see where he was, so they could see in front of them, allowing them to follow each other across the narrow bluffs. With the strongest of the men leading the way, the group began to cross the cliffs. The freezing wet snow soaked every bone in their body. The harsh wind chilled any exposed skin and threatened to push them right up the rocks. The pass was no more than a few feet wide, would have been slippery to even the best of hiking boots, let alone hand-fashioned moccasins. Slowly, they made their way up the cliffs, praying that whatever lay on the other side could shelter them from intensifying storms. They were about halfway up, hundreds of feet above the lake, though it was well out of their vision. In fact, all they could see in the blinding storm was a lantern in front of them, acting as a beacon guide their steps. If the light moved up, they moved up. If they went down, they moved down. Each of the travelers was almost in a trance, carrying about nothing but the glowing orb a few feet away. For the leader, though, there was no such luxury. He moved forward blindly. Sorry, I got lost. He moved forward blindly, feeling about along the cliff till his free arm, though his skin was so numb he could barely feel anything. As the path wound backing in, he made a misstep and along his footing just as a gust of wind blasted his back. He desperately grasped for the hold, but his frozen fingers couldn't get anything. With a terrified scream, he slipped off the cliff and fell into the icy black lake. The rest of the party didn't see him fall. Of course, they saw what the glowing orb was doing away from the bluff and despair in the darkness. There was no time to mourn. They continued on, but the storm was worsening. Every other minute, one of the children, his body unable to withstand the cold, dropped away, his lantern glowing until the choppy waters put it out. Another, having seen this, lost his balance and fell. This pattern went on until there were just 5 people left, fumbling along in the darkness. As hard as they tried. As long as they tried, the cliffs were unforgiving. The remaining men fell down to 4, then 3, then 2, and there was just one left, who legend says cursed the earth on his legs, slipped, and he plunged hundreds of feet down. His lantern, the last one to be extinguished. Of the 20 members who tried to overcome the cliffs, I finished. Not one of them survived. They say sometimes if the conditions are right, you can see the orbs along the cliff, symbol of the lost travelers who will never find their homes. As the story ended, leaving the campers in eerie silence, I saw the lights up ahead. Wave of relief poured over me. We picked up the pace and found the ranger station, bursting with activity, with half a dozen people running around, loading up trucks and shouting into the radios. The wind was beginning to really pick up. I heard the thunder in the distance. Hey, yo, kids! A large, burly man with a full beard, mustache ran up to us. Get in the trucks. We don't have much time. Lauren and the kids pick up. What's going on? I asked the men. Didn't you hear? Another gust of wind. Huge storm system heading right for us. already been tornadoes. Touchdown. We're getting everyone out of here. Let's go. We all climbed into the truck's bed. I collapsed down, feeling like I'd just been punched in the gut. The ranger climbed in the front, and we took off down the makeshift road. My head was spinning. It was impossible. How? Laura slid next to me, keeping her voice low. How did you know? We had to get out of there. I looked over, and my face felt empty of any blood. I saw the lights. What? No, no, she gasped. Then caught herself. How many? I took a deep breath. 8. She looked around at all the campers who are now lying against each other asleep despite a bumpy road. Think that's all of us. My God. I nodded and leaned against her. Laura had heard the traveler's story before, and she knew that I left out a key bit of information. The lights were real, but they were never random. If they were shining, bobbing back and forth, winking in a small R, it was because they had a message, a warning. One light would shine for each person who was about to die.